So you haven't told them your little secret. Well, Simba, now's your chance to tell them.
You remember watching The Lion King as a kid, but have you ever wondered what if Simba never returned? What if Hakuna Matata remained his philosophy while the Pride Lands withered away under Scar's rule? Imagine a world where the roar meant to unite the kingdom never echoed across the savannah again. Today, we're exploring this dark reality, how your favorite characters would have suffered, adapted, or fought back in a world where the rightful heir never claimed his throne. And trust me, after seeing our breakdown of Scar's kingdom, you'll realize just how perfectly crafted the original story really was, and how much was actually at stake. But what if Simba never made it out of the desert? We've all seen the movie where Timon and Pumbaa find him collapsed under the scorching sun, but let's think about what would have happened if they never came along that day. The desert would become Simba's final challenge. The scorching sand sizzled beneath his raw paws as he trudged forward, each step more painful than the last. His parched throat burned with every labored breath, the heat shimmering around him in waves that distorted his vision. The stampede had already drained his strength, and the weight of guilt crushed what little remained of his spirit. Miles of empty wasteland stretched before him, the silence broken only by the distant screech of circling vultures tracking his weakening movements. Eventually, his tiny body would give out, the sun beating mercilessly against his fur. He might collapse near a dead tree, its brittle branches offering pathetic strips of shade. Or perhaps he would simply crumple in the open sand, too weak to take another step. The vultures would descend, their wings creating momentary shadows across his still form before they claimed their prize. Those same vultures would become messengers of fate. Back at Pride Rock, Scar would be settling into his new role as king when hyena scouts would arrive, breathless with excitement. Your Majesty, vultures found a lion cub's remains in the desert. It has to be Simba. Scar's eyes would light up with wicked satisfaction, a smile spreading across his face. His plan had succeeded beyond his wildest expectations. Not only did he kill Mufasa, but now Simba was gone too. No rightful heir remained to challenge his rule. The Pride Lands were his forever. Scar wouldn't keep this news to himself. He'd gather all the animals for another announcement, his voice dripping with manufactured grief. My subjects, I bring terrible news. My beloved nephew Simba, who ran away after the tragic death of my brother, has been found dead in the desert. The rightful bloodline of Pride Rock has come to an end. He would pretend to mourn, perhaps shedding a fake tear while secretly celebrating his now secure reign. For Sarabai, this would be the final breaking point. Having lost both her mate and son, the proud former queen would become a shadow of herself. The lionesses would gather around her, offering hollow comfort where none could truly be found. The grim reality would settle over them. Hope for a better tomorrow had vanished. The rightful king was gone forever. Young Nala would mature in this bleak new world, never knowing that her playmate would have been their salvation. Other cubs would adapt to increasingly harsh conditions as Scar's rule transformed everything they knew about life in the Pride Lands. With Simba's death confirmed, Scar would implement his full vision immediately. Why show restraint when there's no one left to challenge you? The hyenas would receive more privileges, hunting restrictions would disappear completely, and the careful balance Mufasa maintained would shatter. Scar had waited his entire life for absolute power with zero threat of losing it, but the worst part, no one would even realize what they were losing until it was too late. Without the possibility of Simba's return, there would be no resistance, no fighting back, just painful acceptance as Scar systematically dismantled everything that once made their kingdom thrive. As Scar's iron paw gripped the Pride Lands tighter with each passing season, the physical transformation of the kingdom would become something far worse than the brief glimpse of drought we saw in the movie. That brown, lifeless landscape wasn't just a temporary setback, it was the first warning sign of an ecological collapse that would turn the once vibrant savannah into a wasteland more desolate than the elephant graveyard ever was. The movie only showed us the beginning stages of environmental destruction, but imagine if this continued year after year. The lush grasslands would yellow and wither entirely, leaving cracked earth and dust reminiscent of a devastating drought. Those majestic acacia trees would drop their leaves, becoming skeletal fingers reaching toward a sky that rarely delivered rain. Within the first year of Scar's rule, the hyenas' relentless overhunting would decimate zebra, gazelle, and antelope populations. These herds once migrated in patterns that allowed grasslands to recover, but with their numbers reduced, the cycle maintaining the savannah's health would break break down completely. The surviving herbivores would strip whatever vegetation remained, accelerating the desertification already underway. The Pride Land's entire water system would collapse. Water holes would shrink to muddy puddles before disappearing entirely, while the river that once flowed abundantly would reduce to a trickle, then dry up completely. Animals would face an impossible choice: attempt migration through hyena territory or perish from thirst. Most would choose to flee, becoming easy prey for the waiting predators. The elephant graveyard, that barren, shadowy place, would expand like an infection. Year by year, more of Scar's kingdom would become indistinguishable from this wasteland. The fog and ominous green geysers would spread as life retreated, until eventually the border between the Pride Lands and the graveyard would disappear completely. The entire region would become one vast, inhospitable expanse. Scavengers would experience a brief but terrible golden age. Vultures would circle constantly, finding death everywhere they looked. Their numbers would swell temporarily as they feasted on animals that couldn't escape, but their prosperity would end quickly. As the large herbivores disappeared, even these opportunistic birds would find themselves starving, too weak to fly beyond the expanding desert to find new feeding grounds. The dry landscape would become a tinderbox. What started as small blazes would grow into infernos sweeping across the savannah, destroying any struggling plants that somehow survived. Each fire would leave blackened earth that, without rain to wash away ash, would remain sterile for years. These increasingly frequent blazes would transform entire regions into charred moonscapes overnight. Pride Rock itself, that majestic formation standing as the kingdom's heart, would suffer slow degradation. Without protective vegetation around its base, wind and rare but violent storms would erode its foundations. The imposing stone would crack and crumble. The sun would bleach it white, making it resemble an enormous ancient bone jutting from the earth rather than a symbol of life and power. The royal den would become uninhabitable as sections collapsed, forcing even Scar to abandon parts of his throne. The most horrifying aspect of this transformation would be its permanence. Ecosystems have remarkable resilience when given the chance to recover, but Scar's reign would push the Pride Lands beyond the point of no return. The soil, stripped of nutrients and organic matter, would become incapable of supporting new growth. The seed bank would be depleted by heat and fire. Even if a more benevolent leader took Scar's place, the damage would be irreversible within a generation. While the land itself withered away, something even more unnatural was happening within Pride Rock's social structure. But did you ever wonder what would happen if hyenas weren't just permitted in the Pride Lands, but actually became the ruling class? What if the lions who had been at the top of the hierarchy for generations suddenly found themselves treated as second-class citizens in their own ancestral home? With no fear of Simba's return, Scar would completely restructure Pride Rock's society, creating a rigid caste system with hyenas at the top and lions forcibly pushed to the bottom. The first step would be establishing a secret police force made up of his most loyal hyena followers. These patrols would constantly circle Pride Rock, monitoring the lionesses' every movement and setting strict boundaries. The hyenas would transform from allies into enforcers, watching for any sign of rebellion from the lions. Picture Sarabai, once respected as queen, now forced to bow her head as hyenas block her path. She stands silently, remembering when she walked these lands with dignity. The once proud lionesses would find their hunting skills exploited under this new regime. Scar would force them to hunt despite dwindling prey, but with a cruel twist, they would bring every kill directly to him and his hyena commanders first. Only after Scar and his inner circle had eaten would the lionesses be permitted to consume whatever scraps remained. Many nights, the lionesses who spent hours stalking and bringing down prey would go to sleep hungry, while the cackling laughter of well-fed hyenas echoed through Pride Rock. Scar's most calculating strategy would target the next generation. Cubs born during his reign would be separated from their mothers, young, and raised in indoctrination camps supervised by hyenas. These young lions would learn a distorted version of Pride Land history, never hearing of Mufasa's wisdom or past prosperity. Their education would focus on loyalty to Scar and subservience to hyenas, creating a generation with no memory of their former glory. The social order would be maintained through a system of rewards for reporting disloyal behavior. This network of informants would create a culture where no lion could trust another. Mothers would teach their cubs in whispers, knowing every conversation might lead to punishment if overheard by the wrong ears. Scar would erase physical reminders of Mufasa's reign. Cave paintings recording the lineage of kings would be scratched away and replaced with images glorifying Scar as Pride Rock's savior. In this new narrative, Mufasa becomes a tyrant who kept the Pride Lands restricted, while Scar is celebrated as the revolutionary who brought freedom by welcoming hyenas. Even mentioning Mufasa's name would become punishable. The physical spaces would reflect this hierarchy too. The sheltered sleeping areas where the royal family once rested would become exclusive domains for Scar and his hyena commanders. Lions would be restricted to exposed outer ledges regardless of weather. The ceremonial peak of Pride Rock would become off limits to all lions except Scar, symbolically reinforcing that no new Lion King would ever be presented there. This social inversion would create something unprecedented. Lions governed by their traditional enemies, forced to bow when hyenas passed by, yielding the right of way and accepting abuse without resistance. The lionesses, once feared predators, would become servants, their physical strength harnessed for Scar's benefit, while their spirits broke beneath the weight of their new reality. Saraba's public humiliation became a daily performance, but beneath her bowed head, her mind remained unbroken, plotting against the tyrant who stole her throne. Did you ever wonder how long proud lionesses would accept being servants in their own home before they started fighting back? How far could Scar push before the hunters became the revolutionary force he never saw coming? Remember Nala, the playful cub with bright eyes and boundless energy who wrestled with Simba under African skies. That innocent cub was gone forever, transformed into a fierce lioness with determination burning in her gaze. Every time hyenas snatched her hard-earned kill every moment, watching cubs go hungry under Scar's rule fueled her transformation from carefree youth to revolutionary leader. Growing up under Scar's regime taught her patience, cunning, and the art of hiding her true intentions while quietly building a network of resistance fighters among lionesses who remembered better days. The resistance began with small strategic acts of defiance. Nala created a system of hidden food caches throughout Pride Lands. A zebra leg buried beneath distinctive rocks, or antelope remained submerged in muddy water holes hyenas found too unpleasant to investigate. These secret reserves sustained starving lionesses after surrendering their kills to Scar's commanders. While Nala organized the resistance, Sarabi became their essential intelligence asset. As former queen, she was still occasionally summoned to Scar's presence, where between mocking her fallen status, he carelessly revealed plans for new restrictions. Behind her grieving eyes, Sarabi memorized every detail, later sharing intelligence during casual grooming sessions with Nala that doubled as perfect covers for information exchange. Communication evolved into a sophisticated system among resistance lionesses. They developed markings using claw scratches and scent patterns that appeared random to hyenas but conveyed vital messages to other lions. 3 scratches on a baobab trunk signaled a nearby food cache, while specific scent combinations warned of increased patrols, allowing orders to spread without suspicious conversations. In darkness, when hyena guards grew lazy, Nala led younger lionesses to hidden ravines for combat training. These weren't playful wrestling matches, but deadly serious preparation for eventual confrontation. They practiced ambush techniques and coordinated attacks, exploiting hyena weaknesses, especially their tendency to panic when separated from their clan. The resistance developed a network of secret passages throughout Pride Rock, narrow crevices barely wide enough for a lioness, tunnels hidden behind loose rocks and concealed ledges overlooked by hyena lookouts. This shadow infrastructure enabled resistance members to move undetected, delivering messages, gathering for strategy sessions, or rescuing lionesses targeted for punishment. Nala understood that lionesses alone couldn't overthrow Scar's regime. She undertook dangerous solo journeys to territories where remaining large herbivores had retreated. The elephants, with their long memories of better days, became her first allies, capable of trampling multiple hyenas if properly directed. The surviving rhinos, territorial and aggressive, required more persuasion, but eventually joined their cause. Even buffalo herds, typically neutral in lion conflicts, had suffered enough to consider an alliance against their common oppressor. What made Nala's leadership powerful was her ability to maintain hope in seemingly hopeless circumstances. When younger lionesses questioned whether resistance was pointless, she reminded them of stories about the great kings of the past and how the Pride Lands survived previous challenges. She promised them they would reclaim their home and restore its glory, that future cubs would grow up walking with dignity instead of fear. The resistance grew stronger each day as Scar's grip on the kingdom began showing its first signs of weakness. While Nala built her resistance movement among the lionesses, another rebellion was brewing from an unexpected source: Scar's supposed allies. But what happens when those you've promised everything to realize they're getting nothing but empty words and a slow death? The hyenas' loyalty had always been conditional, and the conditions were rapidly deteriorating. Remember when Scar first invited the hyenas into the Pride Lands? He promised them they would never go hungry again. Those words echoed hollow in the empty stomachs of Shenzi's clan as they watched their cubs grow thinner by the day. Despite their elevated status over the lions, they fought over scraps from increasingly rare kills. Being at the top of the social ladder meant nothing when the entire structure was collapsing like a termite mound in the rain. The first cracks appeared when Shenzi began holding private councils with her lieutenants away from Scar's watchful eye. Banzai, once Scar's most enthusiastic supporter, now openly questioned whether following the lion had been a mistake. Even Ed's mindless laughter faded to silence as starvation set in. Their anger stemmed from deep betrayal. They had terrorized the lions, enforced his laws, and received only protruding bones and empty bellies in return. As hunger intensified, the hyena front fractured like a drought-parched riverbed. The once unified pack splintered into competing clans. Shenzi's elephant graveyard clan clashed violently with the Shadowland clan over a single wildebeest carcass, leaving 5 dead. Scar remained isolated in his cave, abandoning his mediation promises while invisible boundaries shifted with each passing moon. The breaking point came when 3 young hyenas from Shenzi's clan made secret contact with Nala's resistance. "We didn't know it would come to this," the leader whispered. "Scar promised us food, not famine." These hyenas recognized a painful truth: lions were better stewards of the land. Under Mufasa, even hyenas living in the margins could scavenge enough to survive. Word of this meeting reached Scar through his spies. His response transformed everything. The 3 hyenas were publicly executed, their bodies left at territory borders as warnings. But instead of creating fear, it ignited fury. These weren't nameless rebels, they were Shenzi's own cousins. Her grief crystallized into rage. Scar's mind shattered after this incident. He saw traitors everywhere, even among devoted followers. During a hunting report, he slashed a messenger's face for simply stating no prey had been found, claiming the hyena was spreading lies to undermine the kingdom. His paranoia took bizarre forms, spending days in his cave, emerging with wild eyes and matted fur, ranting about conspiracies. He ordered executions based on dreams or cloud patterns, ruling through unpredictable terror rather than calculation. When a hyena pup wandered too close to his section of Pride Rock, Scar banished the entire family to the desert. Shenzi, watching her starving clan while Scar descended into madness, made her decision. In the darkest night of dry season, she gathered all 5 remaining clan leaders in a hidden ravine. The historic meeting lasted until dawn, creating an unprecedented pact. The clans would unite to eliminate Scar. Their plan was brutally simple: coordinate with Nala's resistance to create a diversion, drawing away Scar's remaining loyal guards. Then storm his chambers at Pride Rock with overwhelming numbers. No challenges, no speeches, no chance for Scar to talk his way out, just dozens of jaws closing in from all sides. The hyenas had learned from their mistake in following empty promises. This time, they would take matters into their own paws. When you think about it, The Lion King isn't just entertainment, it's showing us how everything is connected and can unravel when the wrong leader takes control. What if Simba never returned? Pride Rock wouldn't just lose a king, an entire ecosystem would collapse into something unrecognizable. The Hakuna Matata philosophy sounds appealing, but Simba eventually had to face his responsibilities, just like we all do. Running away from our problems only lets the scars of the world take over and destroy everything good. Next time you watch that final battle on Pride Rock with lightning striking and rain falling, see it as more than drama, it's a world being saved from the brink. Like the Pride Lands transforming under Simba's return, our own lives can flourish when we stop running and confront our challenges head on.